I mean, can we see some highlights of the guy? Can we just take a second to see some highlights?
Back, watch out! Jacob Cruz blocked. To make a longer recovery to the three-point shooter, you just got to
Oh, boy, Lenny.
Arkansas trying to
Switch to some man, usually late.
Thiero, two-hand.
Taylor got a step on Richmond. Rejected. Another block shot for the Hogs. Wagner feeds Thiero.
Oh,
Thiero
okay. Nice first step. Okay.
Gets it ahead to Thiero, and Thiero goes up with the right. Oh!
SEC Missouri lost earlier to Texas A&M. Thiero followed the miss.
All right, a couple more.
Adou left open. In and out.
Might have been goaltending.
Thiero.
Short on the second. He'll get
Got it.
back.
Got it.
Thiero.
Yeah, a little range.
At the end.
Not that much
And
range.
so far this first half, they've done well.
Nice little left hook.
Thiero.
Okay. One more. Last one.
Thiero. Just
Beautiful finish. All right. We got a lot going on here. What? Who said I can't start the show with a little bit of highlights? Let's get a little highlights on this guy. Thank you very much for tuning in. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. All right, we got a lot to get into today. Of course we do. NBA draft yesterday. Lakers moving and shaking. They're making deals yesterday. Lakers trying to move up in that draft. That's exactly what they did. They did move up in that draft. And we're able to get all the way up to the number 36 pick. Adou Thiero is obviously the pick that the Lakers took. So we got a lot of good conversations today. I'm looking forward to today's show. I know it was just round 2, but it was a busy day for the Lakers in round 2. We'll look at what some of these scouts are saying about him. Be realistic about this player as well. I think, easily for a lot of people, the moment you see a player get drafted and everybody's just like, oh my God, look at this guy. We'll pump the brakes on what he could probably do for the Lakers. I do think there's something to the Lakers drafting a wing and not a center. That means more assets to go towards a center. So we'll make sure to look into that. By the way, I guess I'm just doing my rundown here real quick. There was a couple things yesterday that I saw as well. Other players that the Lakers picked up as well, two-way guys, 10-day contracts that the Lakers have as well. And then we got just a lot of other stuff, obviously, around the NBA. Lakers got to figure out what they're going to do in free agency. Got some quotes here from Rob Pelinka from last night as well. There was something that I saw that was wild in regards to Austin Reaves. Just towards the end of my show yesterday, we were talking about Reaves and his contract. He's not taking that max extension, which is no surprise or shock or anything like that. But what is going to happen is looking at the numbers, what he can make next year. Do you guys see those numbers, what he can make next year? My God. Austin Reaves is about to get paid. I don't know if it's going to be by the Lakers, but we'll see what happens in regards to that. Got a couple other things that are NBA related. Keith Smith is going to be my guest today, who covers the NBA, also does the front office show he does with Trevor Lane on YouTube. So he's going to come join the show, and then we'll do the weekend preview, and we'll call it a day. What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Hopefully everybody's having a great Friday. I'm enjoying a nice cup of coffee, getting the day started, and we'll take things from there. Okay. Let me first, before I get started, got a good quote here for everybody. Don't be afraid to fail. Be afraid to stay the same. Every loss has something to teach you if you're willing to learn. Don't be afraid to fail. Be afraid to stay the same. Every loss has something to teach you if you're willing to learn. Okay. Let's read a couple of these comments here, and then we'll start kind of breaking down a little bit what we saw yesterday and what we're expecting here moving forward, and what should be a really exciting. If I don't come on this effing weekend and do some type of live breaking freaking news about the Lakers doing something, we got a problem. Then we got an issue. Technically, what's today? The 27th, 20th. Technically, I come back on Monday on the 30th, and we could still be doing things. But I'm expecting action, my people. I'm expecting action. All right, before we get started, let's take a look at a couple of the comments here. Good morning, Slee. Good morning to you, brother. The pain of working out is temporary, but the strength and confidence you gain from it will last a lifetime. Phenomenal stuff right there. Thank you for sharing, brother. Thiero was a guard who had a late growth spurt. Love players like that. Yeah, there's some areas of his game, to be honest with you, that kind of questions my theory of him being a guard. If he was a guard like he was, and he did have a growth spurt, I was able to let's just get started. We get started with the show. That way I can kind of get to some of the topics and we can start talking about Thiero. Okay, a couple things on him. I'm going to hold on to this comment. Did have a growth spurt, and I got a chance yesterday to listen to him on NBA radio. Man, I did a lot of NBA radio yesterday, and they were breaking everything down. But Thiero came on. He obviously came on the on NBA radio yesterday, so I got a chance to. He talked a little bit about his growth spurt and his game and everything else. So I'll get to that in just a second. Let's just really quickly just kind of talk about his profile. Okay, who is this player? How many years was he in college? How successful was he in college? What are some of the things that are some of his strengths, his weaknesses, and everything else? So let's do that right now. We'll waste a little bit less time on everything else. Let me just first say this. I want to just talk about the path of what happened yesterday, because Lakers ended up with the number 36 pick. Obviously, we know the Lakers did not have the number 36 pick. Lakers started the day yesterday at number 55. And how they got to number 36, by the way, tells me a few different things. That they go from 55 to 45. They make a trade with the Chicago Bulls to get all the way down to 45. And I had put a video out on just that. It was right after my show ended. I put a video out. Lakers make the trade. It's like, okay, now they're up to 45. They gave some cash over to the Chicago Bulls. It just kind of, I could see Pelinka walking in with a briefcase, just with a suitcase. Remember back in the day, some of you guys won't remember this, where everybody used to be, any car negotiation you made, you're like, well, what if I give you the money in cash? And people will just come with a couple suitcases. I don't know if Pelinka did that yesterday, but it was $2.5 million in cash that the Lakers were giving to the Bulls to move up 10 spots, plus to give them the number 55 pick. So you thought, all right, Lakers, maybe they're identifying somebody at number 45. There was a couple different players. There's a dude, the center out of Creighton, that supposedly they were targeting, but he went early second round. And then right before the pick was made, Lakers jump again from 45 to 36. Pelinka's got cash. Pelinka, again, just a couple suitcases. I saw him counting 20s. I'm like, Pelinka, we're going to be here all day if you're just counting 20s. Saw a couple 10s and 5s in there as well. The Lakers give cash to the Minnesota Timberwolves plus the 45th pick. They move up to number 36. There's a lot of action yesterday. And to be honest with you, I liked it. I liked that the Lakers were saying to themselves, we got to move up in this draft. Enough of these Hail Marys that the Lakers are always trying to make, which is always associated with the Lakers. Start building a team. And I'm not telling you that this guy is going to be your answer for years to come. What I'm telling you is, of course, you got to value the draft. Of course, you got to value young players. And you got to figure out ways to fill out your roster other than we got to go get that guy, or that guy we're going to get for a minimum. He's going to be here for 1 year, and then we're going to be stuck with his contract for another year because we don't think he's going to work with us. Lakers certainly need some structure. I don't need to tell anybody about that. I think every Laker fan understands that. Then the actual draft comes, and the Lakers take Adou Thiero at number 36. Okay, let's kind of get in a little bit into who he is. And let me first say this. This is a project. Every player, I was listening yesterday, NBA radio, and this gives you a really, really good idea. They were talking about Cooper Flagg. And they were talking about how long it's going to take for him to actually have the type of impact that he should have in the NBA. They're talking about the undisputed number 1 pick of the draft in Cooper Flagg and how much time it's going to take for him to really put his imprint in the Dallas Mavericks. So just please keep that in mind. I mean, a lot of people saw Dalton connect, and this doesn't mean that there isn't value. This doesn't mean that, there aren't players that are it doesn't mean that there aren't players in the league that can jump into the NBA and have some impact. I'm not saying that. But what I am telling you is, if you think Adou Thiero is coming into the NBA and coming to the Lakers, and this guy is going to put up similar numbers that he did in college, he's not. He's not a good three-point shooter, really, really bad at that, under 30%. But I'll tell you what he is. He's a wing in the NBA that's got great size, 6'6", 6'7", right around there. He's joking around. Yes, he's like, I'm 6'6", but that's barefoot. In the NBA, everybody gets 2-3 extra inches, whatever it is. He's a high flyer in the league. The question's going to be with him. He's an athlete. He'll catch lobs. Just get ready, because if he gets playing time, if JJ Redick gives him some PT, get ready to see some lobs from Luka or from LeBron, and this guy going up and obviously going up and making it happen in any way that he possibly can. Here's the one thing I will tell you about him. His game there's a lot of areas for his game to improve on. The hope is he could be the potential of be a really good defender in the NBA. And the hope is that he slowly but surely improves his jump shot. And the hope is that he could be a player that's just a high flyer energy guy that can just kind of run up and down the floor. And we see players like that in the NBA that are having some success that way. Played for Arkansas. By the way, started with Kentucky, with Calipari, now with Arkansas, with Calipari. I saw an interview where Calipari coming into the draft was like, this guy is the real deal. He's got a real chance, everything else. Average when he was at Arkansas, 15 points a game, shot 54% from the field, but a lot of those buckets are around the basket. Not a good three-point shooter, like I mentioned, and just under 6 rebounds. The real, I guess what everybody's saying about him, got to improve his shooting. As I guess one of the quotes in here, as do so many second-round wing players. So obviously nobody's coming in polished. Some of the comps that they had for him, I mean, you guys can decide what you think on this one. Was OG Anunoby are some of the comps out there for him. There were some scouts there that were saying a couple things. I got a couple things here from Rob Pelinka. But what he said was, it feels good, a dream come true, just happy to be here. Playing for the Lakers too, that's a blessing for sure. Also talked a little bit about the roster. I'm just ready to get out there with these guys and go to work. So he's obviously excited to be a Los Angeles Laker. There's definitely some upside that comes to his game, but pump the brakes if you're thinking this guy is walking right in and he's just going to have this great impact for the Lakers. It's not a bad thing if you draft a guy and you say that, hey, in 2 or 3 years, there's going to be an opportunity for this guy to be something. That's not a bad thing. So I want to point that out here, because some of these guys are projects and it's going to take a second. And I think it's also very smart and strategic to say, hey, there are some guys that we like a little bit later in the draft that we want to be aggressive on. Let's go try to get one of those players. And if the Lakers identify this guy as the guy, awesome. Then let's go take our chances and let's see what happens from here. Okay, a couple scouts. I want to read, by the way, ESPN does their grades. They do their grades for each one of these players or each team. And they try to give each team a grade. Lakers got on ESPN, they got a B+ for drafting him. So Thiero gets a B+. Lakers get a B+ for drafting him. Okay, couple scouts on here. I just want to read because I think sometimes people that are following, by the way, somebody want to give me his right size. I see 6'6", I see 6'8". We'll go 6'7". We'll take the middle ground there on 6'7". Somebody pointed this out earlier, which you are right. He did have a growth spurt. One of the coaches, when I was listening yesterday, was talking about how they saw him when he was at Kentucky and it was early on, and the guy was like 6'3", 6'4", something like that. Then he came back the next year and they're like, who the hell is that guy? He's like, that's the same dude. He did have a growth spurt. And the only reason why I said you love when some of these guys have growth spurts, let me give you an example. Anthony Davis had a wild growth spurt. This guy was basically more of a point guard than he was a center. And he's got a nice jump shot. I mean, he has point guard characteristics, even though he ended up growing to 6'11" and is obviously a big now in the NBA. But you could tell that, okay, hey, I can hit some jumpers. I got nice range around the basket. I can use the glass. He's got point guard tendencies in the sense that he can handle the ball, all those things. Thiero doesn't exactly have, hey, I grew up as a guard and I got the ability to hit threes because I was 6'2" or 6'3", and that was the only way I stayed on the court. So he did get bigger. He did get taller. They identify him 6'6" to 6'8", whatever the case is. But I think for him, you got to be somewhat of a threat from the outside. You have to be. That's the one area that for him, hopefully over the next couple of years, he just becomes a much better shooter. I guess he had the talent of the first round, but some people were worried because of his shooting ability. Okay, so what did I see here? couple of the scouts said here, the big knock on Thiero and the reason he wasn't picked in the first round is because he was unable to demonstrate a consistent outside shot during his time in college. But Thiero's measurables are really strong. He's still developing. He's initially a fringe top 100 prospect out of high school, but improved dramatically while playing for John Calipari at both Kentucky and Arkansas. I mentioned to you guys the OG Anunoby quote, or the OG Anunoby comp. Jonathan Giovanni, who's Draft Express and does a lot, really just a genius when it comes to college. Here's what he said about Adou Thiero. Brings a unique combination of quickness, power, and explosiveness that makes him a mismatch forward. Can also do some impressive things defensively one-on-one, racking up steals and blocks in bunches. So hopefully that's a good profile for everybody. I know there's some other NBA people out here that really, really like this game. Kevin O'Connor, who covers the NBA, says that's an awesome choice for the Lakers. Had 45 dunks, had 6 games with 10-plus free throws, so he's aggressive again to the basket. Elite athlete who lives in the paint, needs to improve his jumper, but has everything you'd want in an elite role player. So I see a lot of compliments. Now, listen, I understand how I understand how all this works. I do understand, from the perspective of when you get an opportunity to see guys, and it's the first initial reaction of, okay, hey, let's see what this guy can do. I would just say pump the brakes a little bit, only because it's going to take some time for this guy to be in the league, and I don't have a problem with that. I really don't have an issue with that. I think a lot of people are looking at Dalton Connect, and they're looking at Connect and saying, well, Dalton Connect came into the league. There was a lot of hype around him. And then all of a sudden, he just wasn't having the same impact that he was early in the season. That's part of your rookie life. Now, I'm not 100% sure what's going to eventually happen with Dalton Connect. Is he staying with the Lakers? Is he leaving the Lakers? I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to wait and see. But part of me thinks here that from the Connect perspective of things, the fact that he already got traded, Mark Williams just got traded now, he's in Phoenix. I'd be more surprised, I think, if Connect's on the roster than if he's not. Okay, a couple other things I want to point out here real quick. I do have a guest. I mentioned Keith Smith's coming in at 8:30, so I want to kind of keep things moving here. Other players that the Lakers picked up yesterday as well. All right, who'd they get? Eric Dixon out of Villanova on a 2-way contract. By the way, that guy's just a bona fide scorer. Let's see what else here. But I think in Villanova last year, if I'm right, averaged 23 points a game, shot 40% from 3. He's on a 2-way contract. RJ Davis out of North Carolina looks like on a 10-day deal. And then Augustus Marcolonius, if I pronounce that right, out of St. Mary's on a 10-day deal as well. So just something to keep in mind. We'll see what eventually happens with some of these other players. It will take time. We'll see what they end up doing, but this is what all these NBA teams are doing. Guys that don't get drafted then could kind of work with their agents and pick and choose where they could potentially get some opportunities. Obviously, Lakers had some interest in some other players. Okay, I think the main thing for me that I want to get into now that I think is, an important conversation. I see a lot of people writing stuff about Masai Ujuri as well. We'll get into that. We'll definitely get into that as far as Masai Ujiri goes. We'll talk a little bit about that and what that means. We'll do that a little bit later in the show, and I'll ask Keith about that. Okay, so you know what the Lakers did not do yesterday in that second round? They didn't grab a center. Part of me actually feels, you guys can tell me if you guys agree or disagree with this. I'm kind of happy they didn't get a center. Let me tell you why I'm happy they didn't get a center. Because now I know 100% all the attention and the resources that the Lakers have, where's it going to go? It's going to go towards the center, period. There was a quote yesterday from Rob Pelinka. Rob Pelinka says, this is from Dan Weike, now of The Athletic. Rob Pelinka says, center position will clearly be the focus as the Lakers head into free agency. Pelinka said the Lakers have been super active in calls as they turn over every stone in hunt for a center. Focus turns from draft to free agency, and we won't rest until we get it right. Okay. So that's where we are right now in regards to Pelinka. The reason why I like, in a weird way, that the Lakers went and got this wing, this 6'7" guy that can, certainly be a defensive player, can run up and down the floor, do all that stuff. Okay, cool. Awesome. It's going to be a project. I don't think that's going to stop them from getting a wing if they have the ability to go get a wing. But want to talk about every single asset for the Lakers now going towards a center. It's the worst kept secret in the NBA. What do the Lakers need? They obviously need a center. All right. How are they going to get there? What centers are they going to target? I don't know. We've talked about everybody. We've talked about Walker Kessler and Brook Lopez and Clint Capella and I'm just naming Nick Claxton and Jared Allen and Daniel Gafford. Gafford obviously re-signed with Dallas. Is still trade eligible, by the way. But we know how desperate the Lakers are to grab a center. Every asset that the Lakers have moving forward, I have to imagine. Let me tell you a quote that Pelinka didn't say in some of these quotes that are out there. He didn't say, we really, really, really are desperate for a wing. He didn't say, we really, really are desperate for a backup point guard. He didn't say, we're targeting another small forward or a shooting guard. No. He just said center. So that means take Rui Hachimura's expiring contract, Maxi Kleber's expiring contract, Gabe Vincent's expiring contract. Take Dalton Connect. Take your 2031 first rounder. Take any pick swaps that you have. Every asset that's on the board for the Lakers is now going to shift towards a center. I don't know how teams value what the Lakers have. Clearly, a guy like Walker Kessler, the Lakers haven't, overly valued that. And whatever their thought process is on Walker Kessler, or whatever their thought process is on what the Lakers have, maybe their deal would have already been made if they really did value what the Lakers had. But nonetheless, every single asset that the Lakers have can now go towards the attention of a center. So that's kind of my takeaway from round 2 and my takeaway yesterday from the draft. Lakers take a little bit of a risk here. Who cares about the cash? I know there are some. It does have an effect when you do use some of your cash. I'll ask Keith Smith about that. But at the end of the day, I think the main point to take across is they're going to take their chances with a wing player. They'll give him an opportunity to obviously learn some things. At the same time, they are also going to clearly pay the rest of their attention towards the center and see what the Lakers can do in regards to that. All right, let me take a look at a few of these comments here. I definitely want to, get a chance to see what you guys are talking about. Before I do so, I do want to spend some time talking about one of our partners here, Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. Just great partners, phenomenal partners. They are injury attorneys. I'm going to be there on Monday doing my show from there. He's also has a studio as well. He does within their industry. He does a lot of podcasting and things along those lines. So I'm going to do my show there on Monday. Injury attorneys, wrongful death case, a serious injury. You're not sure what to do. A family member's in a tough situation. I think most people understand or at least trust my track record. Let me introduce you to Brad Wallace if you're in a position where you need an injury attorney. He can help anybody. In the state of California, he can help anybody. And I'm sure he can help you. We did create a URL, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. If you click on that link, get a free consultation. Go in and have, a conversation with them, either in their office in Encino or over the phone, have a phone call with them. Like I said, he can help anybody in the state of California. Let him see if he can help you. He has done a just phenomenal job of putting his firm in a position to be in front of people all through Southern California and the state of California and helping them. And I've given out some real life experiences of examples of how he's helped others out there, has helped other clients. All these insurance companies, all they want to do is settle. In his mind, all he wants to do is make sure that he's taking care of his clients. wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. All right, let's take a look at a couple of your comments here. Then we'll keep things moving. Let's see what you guys got here. Let's see what everybody's talking about here. Trade Reaves ASAP. Damn. Reaves getting just everywhere. I'll take Reaves at 25 per year. I'm going to give you some numbers here in a second. And the numbers, let me just say this. please sit in your chair when I give you some of these numbers. I don't want anybody falling off their chair or anything like that. Be prepared for some of the numbers I'm going to share with you here in just a second. Rob will be fired next year. Mark Walters will see that. I don't think Pelinka's going anywhere that soon, but I will tell you this. If Pelinka, if new ownership, this I can tell you, if new ownership doesn't think, hey, this ship is sailing in the right direction, then they will change course. I based off of at least everything being such a results-driven business and some of the other businesses that they run. And that's why I'll bring up Masai Ujiri later, but that's why that one was interesting, because instantly people are like, are Lakers getting Masai Ujiri? Okay, probably not getting Masai Ujiri, but what a wild situation that is. They just had the draft yesterday. Free agency's coming up. Now you get rid of Masai Ujiri. Something must have happened there. Okay, this is what I was talking about not wanting to fall out of your chair here. Let me share this with you guys. I think it's better to share with you guys than to actually tell you. So I saw this yesterday. We do know this. Yesterday, the news came out that Austin Reaves is not going to take that max extension, which was 4 years, $89 million. And if those have any reason, why wouldn't he take it? That doesn't make any sense. He's not taking it because he's going to make a hell of a lot more money down the road. How much more money can he make? Well, I'm glad you asked. Take a look at this. Bobby Marks said this yesterday. The Lakers can offer Austin Reaves a 5-year, $246 million max deal next summer. I'm not telling you that's going to happen. I'm just telling you that could potentially be on the table. That's the most that he can make from the Lakers is 5 years, $246. So that's why he ain't taking his 4 years, $89 million. Now, I know how a lot of Laker fans feel. I know a lot of Laker fans, it feels like on this channel and a lot of conversations that we've had with Laker fans, and everybody has given their opinion. A lot of people think that Austin Reaves are a little bit concerned from just the roster that the Lakers have. They hated the way Austin Reaves finished the playoffs. You just you look up and down with this. You look up and down with now Luka on the team, what that backcourt looks like, the lack of defensive abilities that the Lakers have. So not everybody's crazy about Austin Reaves at the moment. That number that I just gave, the 5 years, 246, that is wild, my friends. Wild. Now, do I think the Lakers are going to offer him 246? No, I do not. Do I think that Austin Reaves is going to be wildly, how do I put this, selfish and say, well, I got to get mine? No, I don't. I think Austin Reaves is going to try to work with the Lakers. I think there's been no indication from Austin Reaves that he doesn't want to be a Laker. I think there's been no indication from Austin Reaves that he doesn't like the situation or the predicament or the team or the city, none of that stuff. And I take Austin Reaves as somebody that I could see him giving a hometown discount to the Lakers. I can. But this is what has to happen in order to get to that position of you're going to pay Austin Reaves some big bucks. Here's what has to happen. What has to happen between now and, let's call it the next year or so. Austin Reaves has to play out the rest of this year. Then we got to go into the summer. He negotiates a deal, obviously, with Rob Pelinka in the front office. And then from there, whatever that dollar amount is going to be, it's going to be a while before the Lakers get themselves in that position. Do they have enough assets right now to go out and really address the center position? Do Lakers want to wait a year? I think there's a lot of things that kind of come into play what happens. But that number, when I saw it, I almost fell out of my chair. So I'm sure there's a lot of other people that feel the same way. Dude has no accolades for a contract like that. Listen, I'm just going to be reading what you guys say. Whether I agree or disagree, I like getting the opinion of Laker fans. So that's my only intention here. So whether they're positive or they're negative. Players are getting paid millions for not playing defense. That part is true. That part is true. Other guys are also playing millions, and they can't look at the basket and hit an 8-footer. I mean, go watch Jackson Hayes play. Go watch Jared Vanderbilt play. There's also a lot of other players that are just atrocious on the offensive side. the idea and the concept is you have a little bit of balance, right? You got some people that can do one thing, other people that can do others, and you go from there, and you put together a good team where everybody complements each other. Austin was actually good on defense when he was trying to make the team. He also was probably better on defense when they had better defenders that, surrounded him. The entire team was good from that perspective. Let's see this. With DFS opting out, does that mean we have $16 million to sign someone else? No, and I also think they will do everything they can to try to bring back obviously try to bring back Dorian Finney-Smith. They traded for Dorian Finney-Smith, so they're definitely going to try to keep him. It's widely reported he wants in the $30 million range. What the F-Slee? You need to know better. I'm well aware of it doesn't even really matter what he wants. What matters is what the market calls for and what kind of deal that he's able to put together with the Lakers. I'm not telling you he's getting 5 years and $246 million. What I'm telling you is that's what they could potentially sign him for if he were to come, or if he wanted to, and if the Lakers had interest in a max extension. Okay, I did mention we have a guest today. Very, very excited to have Keith Smith join the show. Let me get this all queued up here. Keith, good morning, brother. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I've watched a lot of your content. I know it's the first time you and I have crossed paths, but Trev's a good buddy of mine, and I watch you guys all the time on the Front Office Show. So congrats to the both of you for doing what you guys are doing with that channel.
I appreciate that. Thanks so much. Yeah, we're trying to be educational. We both have backgrounds as educators, but we also want to have a lot of fun and just have a good time with it.
Okay, let me ask you this, and I'll just kind of just your thoughts. And I know you're looking at this. You're out on the East Coast. You're huge in the NBA period, but I'm going to try to. I love getting perspectives from others on the Lakers. This is predominantly a Laker channel. Granted, we're talking NBA and everything else, but on the outside looking in, we were just talking a little about Austin Reaves. Can you just give your opinion, your thoughts, some of the chatter around Austin Reaves in the summer? I just put up something. Bobby Marks had mentioned that next year he could potentially make 5 years, 246 if they took the absolute max. Not that anybody thinks that that's going to happen, but it just kind of gives you an idea. What are those numbers going to look like for Austin Reaves? What's your thought on Reaves, his fit with the Lakers? What happens this offseason with him? Long-term plan. Would love to hear what you think.
Yeah, offensively, I have no questions at all. I think he's a great fit with Luka and LeBron in the immediate, a good fit with Luka long-term. I think one of the places where you saw Dallas have the best success with Luka was when they did put one other ball handler on the floor with him. Yeah, he eats up a ton of usage, but he just needs those outlets to be able to get the ball off to somebody. He does need to take a possession or two off, and he's not going to play 48 minutes a night. And I'm not taking any shots at his conditioning, I promise. Nobody plays the whole game. So you need somebody else that can be the key primary distributor, primary creator, and all that. And I think Austin Reaves can do that offensively. Are there questions defensively? Absolutely. Are there questions defensively with him, LeBron and Luka in the immediate, him and Luka long term? Sure. It's not going to, you're not going to lock opposing perimeter guys down. But the good thing with both of those guys is they have enough size. They can defend other positions. So if you're running into a spot where it's like, man, what we really need is a really good guard defender, you can go sign one and figure it out and get somebody. If it's, we need a big to protect the rim, you figure that out down the line. This year might be a little more difficult because you're working with limited resources to solve those problems. But down the line, the flexibility should free up and they'll be able to pursue those guys. And if you lock them in, I think you're good. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Austin Reaves. I think he gets far too much guff for the things he's not good at without getting the credit for the things that he is really, really good at.
Why do you think that is? Because I'm still trying to figure that out. Austin Reaves, in a very short period of time, went from everybody loving him and loving his game and, oh my gosh, what a cool story. Obviously hits path to the NBA and then a real contributor. I mean, a real contributor in the league. Sure. Do you think more of it has to do with the fit with Luka, that once Luka got here and there's a lack of a center and there's other areas that the Lakers, and maybe it also has to do just the lack of assets that the Lakers have, to go acquire some of the things that they need. Why do you think such a quick change in how people view him?
Yeah, I think part of it was his rise was synonymous with the Lakers getting back to being a very good team again. So, like, it was like, man, this is really fun, and he's fun, and his story is fun, and look at us, we're winning, we're good, like we're in the contention sphere again. So it was very easy. Now we're living there, and he got the contract, and people are like, hey, we haven't taken that next step. Why are we not in the finals? Why are we not winning a championship? And
Are you trying to say Laker fans are not patient? Come on, Keith.
Hey,
come on, man.
Hey, anybody who knows I'm a Boston guy. Neither one of our fan bases, they have as much patience as I have in my little finger.
You're right about that.
It is championship or bust all the time, right? So I think it's winning time, right? And if he's not going to drive that, like really be a major part of it, and you see the success, that's where I think people are like, well, hold on, is this the right guy for that? I also think there's just a misconception in the league where people, they don't understand what a $25 or $30 million a year contract is anymore. And that's probably where we're headed with Austin Reaves. Those are no longer max deals. They're not even close to max deals. And that's, crazy. I get it. And that's, an incredible amount of money. But the reality is, if you think in terms of the percentage of the cap, making 25 or 30 on his next deal, that's less than 20% of the cap. That's like what it used to be to make 14 or 15 or what he's making
market
now.
Price now.
Yeah. And that's it. Those are the things that I think people kind of forget about. And last I'll say is the playoffs didn't go great. There were issues, but that's where you got to decide, if you're the Lakers, those issues that we can solve, or those issues that are just, that's how it's going to be. That has to just drive a lot of the decision making as well.
You made a point. You said that, we'll see what happens this upcoming year just based on the amount of assets the Lakers have. What do you think, how much change can they make to where they are today? And let's say that the offseason goes really good for the Lakers. And I'm not saying that they trade Austin Reaves, but I'm saying that they're able to get a big and a center that they feel like, okay, hey, now we got a little bit of size. We don't have to see Rudy Gobert have 20-20 games against us in a Game 5 clincher. If they are able to address their just their obvious needs, what is the upside you think that it could take the Lakers this upcoming year, whether you think they could compete for a chip or not, but just how much impact can it have in the short term?
Yeah, huge. I mean, they're not far away as it is, I don't think. Like, you've got to shore up those spots. You got to get real center depth in there. You have to get, I think, just a couple more, or at least one more defensive player. We'll see. I don't want to put too much on Adou Thiero, because second round pick, like
sure,
anybody who's expecting him to be a savior and 25-minute a night rotation guy as a rookie, that's probably asking a lot of a second round pick.
Probably says something about the position of your team too, if you're asking.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, if they can shore up the holes in the roster, you have Luka, you have LeBron. Like that's a better starting point than, I don't know, 20 teams in the league or so. So I think it would put them in the tier of teams right below Oklahoma City. You're not going to get on the Thunder level, barring some major moves that I don't see coming for them. But that puts you in the mix with teams like Denver and Houston and maybe the Clippers. Let's see what they do. Minnesota, we got to give them respect. They've been there 2 years in a row. So I think, but it puts you in that mix. And then what you're trying to do is have enough depth. My thing now is, if you want to win a title, you have to build your depth. You have to have 100-game depth. You have to get through the 82-game regular season and then another 20 or so games to win a championship. And if you don't have that, you're going to struggle to win a championship. And I think that's for the Lakers now. It's, all right, how do we get not just this starting center in, but we have to have 100-game depth to go to where we want to be.
Quick question on the NBA draft. We obviously got to see the first, both rounds, the last 2 days. Wednesday, first round. Yesterday was the second round. Couple things that, one or two things that stood out to you, and it could be completely wherever you want to go with this. It could be a specific team, things you like, things that you kind of had some question marks. Anything really stood out to you?
Yeah, first, just from a transactional nature, we didn't see a lot of established NBA guys move in trades at the draft. It was really Mark Williams, and that was kind of it for guys who are already in the league. We saw a lot of movement with draft picks, but just that was a little odd. Now, we have to own we had 5 like major blockbuster deals in the weeks heading up to the draft, so that clearly impacted it some, but that was a little bit interesting. I think the Brooklyn Nets making 5 selections. I was most confident Cooper Flag would go number 1, as was everybody else in the world. My next most confident thing, even more than Dylan Harper going number 2, was that the Nets wouldn't make 5 picks for themselves, and yet they did. I kind of get it, though. That team doesn't have young talent because they really only started their rebuild a year ago after last year's draft. So they're in a spot where they needed to really infuse that roster with a lot of young talent. They did that. And then the last thing that just we're 2 days out now, or coming a day and a half out. The Young Han Sen pick by the Trailblazers, that came completely out of nowhere. He had moved up, but you were hearing that day, he's moved up into the top half of the second round, maybe in the high 30s. Maybe a team, they love him, will trade into the first round to make sure they get him. And there he went off the board at 16. Just an unbelievable wild selection. Like, we don't get those very often in the draft anymore. And it was kind of fun to get one completely out of left field like that.
And where he was sitting will tell you everything.
Yes, absolutely.
Of whether they expected him to be drafted that early. You're not sitting all the way in the back if you're going to be drafted that early. It was a fun couple of days. I'm with you. There was look at us. We're all spoiled now. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought there was going to be more players traded.
Yeah.
And we're pretending that CJ McCollum and Jordan Poole and Kevin Durant and Desmond Bane and Kristaps Porzingis. Yeah. Drew Holiday, there were trades made. They were just made obviously right before.
Well, you're absolutely right. We mentioned the show Trevor and I do, NBA Front Office Show. We'll do our live Friday show later this afternoon here on the East Coast, right around lunchtime on the West Coast. And we're going to get people in there why is nothing happening? Like, the draft ended 12 hours ago. What are we doing here? Like, it's just crazy. We're all spoiled, and we all want,
which is actually, the reality is, to be in the off season and to have these types of expectations. And I know we already know this, but you can't really ask for anything better for the NBA.
Yeah.
They get this much attention in the off season. That's obviously pretty special.
Yep.
I'm going to jump around a little bit. Of all the dust has not really settled. And I want to kind of work my way from the Western Conference to the Eastern Conference. Obviously, a lot of moves are going to be made between now and the time that next season starts. But I'm curious to just get your opinion on the moves that have been made and some of the teams that you're looking at in the Western Conference, whether it's KD going to the Rockets, whether it's San Antonio now picking up a number 2 seed or the number 2 pick in Dylan Harper, Cooper Flag now obviously a part of the Dallas Mavericks. What do you make of the West as we sit here today? And are there going to be more teams because of just how competitive the West is? Do you think there are more teams in the West that will say, why are we trying to be buyers at this point? Shouldn't we be angling? I'm going to give you an example. The Sacramento Kings or some of these other teams that are just kind of in that dead zone of where do you go? What do you think what do you make of the West at the current stage? And do you feel like more teams should be taking a rain check on competing right now?
Yeah, unless I missed something and the NBA says the West playoffs is now 15 teams deep. Like, I don't understand. It feels like they're all kind of trying to go, right? And it's like Portland acquiring Drew Holiday. I get it. Portland had a really good second half of last season. They were 23-18. Most people missed it because they were awful in the first half, and they're up in the Northwest. And, for East Coasters, their games aren't tipping off until people are going to bed. So I fully get people missed it. But, they have so many teams to jump and pass just to be in the play-in tournament. I don't know that that's going to fully lift them where they want to go, even if you factor in, hey, we were pretty good in the second half of the year. New Orleans just feels like a confusion factory. I don't understand what's happening there. They're making these moves that are all right, let's, just kind of shuffling deck chairs around and then trading a really potentially juicy future pick to trade up. I like their queen, but that doesn't make a ton of sense to me. They're a weird team. Utah maybe is has kind of things like read of like, yeah, this ain't happening. Like we're gonna really slow play. We're gonna move on from a couple more vets and we're gonna figure this thing out. But because I think people misread when Austin Ainge said, yeah, we're not gonna manipulate minutes. I think that might have been we're not gonna manipulate minutes because we're not gonna have to because we're not gonna have those guys to manipulate minutes for. I think he might have been leading comments there a little bit versus where people took that as we're not taking. So I'm just not sure how all these teams are planning to be good. And it feels like it's going to take maybe a team early December when the trade market opens up in season realizes like, okay, we thought we could make a run, but here we are approaching the holidays. We're not good.
Get the hell out of the mix.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe it's like Portland's like, all right, let's start moving some of these vets and just we'll commit, play more of the kids or whatever. But right now, yeah, it's crazy in the West. It feels like you've got at least 13, 14 teams that are gearing up to make playoff runs, and it's just not going to be how it plays out.
Okay, couple of things is I want to shift over to the Eastern Conference, but before I do, you mentioned the Utah Jazz. Ace Bailey showing up. He's showing up to. I think he shows up to what is I think Monday that they have. They'll start their summer camp or whatever it is. Think he's showing up on Monday?
Yeah, I think so. I think they tried to play the game and they lost as far as getting it to preferred destination. There's been so much reporting. They really wanted to get to Washington or Brooklyn and didn't happen. And that's very much people are going with Danny Ainge, but it's important that he doesn't run the show. Now this is Austin's front office. He's running it, but it was a very Ainge pick to say super high pedigree guy, was very highly rated. I mean, a year ago, people were like, he could challenge Cooper Flagg for the number one pick. I always thought that was a little crazy, but I thought he was in the mix for number 2. I ended up having him 3rd on my board. But I think now they realize, all right, we're going to make the best of it. We're going to go to Utah. And I think he's landed in a pretty good spot with a pretty good runway to a lot of minutes and a chance to really play early. I think it'll end up being okay for him.
Yeah, it's funny. And by the way, I like what the Jazz did. Listen, whether you want to come here or not, this is our pick, and we're going to pick you to come here. And if that's the best talent on the board, a top 3 talent, like you just said, you take him. But I agree with you. I actually think in a weird way, and it's funny how Ace Bailey has made the news here the last week or so, kind of around trying to dictate where he goes. I think they'll embrace him in Utah, and I think he could actually, I mean, you're going to get as much playing time as you want. You're going to get real opportunities, so it'll be curious to kind of see what happens there. How surprised were you this morning when you saw the news about Masai Ujiri?
Yeah, I was pretty shocked. And then shocked initially, and then when I thought about it, it makes sense minus the timing piece to do this now. It is a little odd in between the draft and free agency starts in just a couple days. That part's a little odd, but I do think there's been a little bit of a misunderstanding. He has not been as involved in the day-to-day front office operations for a little while. Bobby Webster has really been kind of running that. And I believe in their statement, I'm going to paraphrase, but they basically said, hey, he's staying, and where extensions are being lined up, we're keeping those guys in place that have really been doing the job. And I think with Masai Ujiri, there was a question of, hey, all right, you're the kind of face of this. Well, 4 of the last 5 years, we've been a bad team. We haven't made the playoffs. The one year we made the playoffs, we got bounced out in the first round. We can't live off 2019 forever. That flag will fly forever. You were a champ, but we got to start figuring things out. And they're if you look at them, they're pretty expensive for a team that's not very good. There's a lot of overlapping pieces on that roster. It's kind of a weird mix of guys right now. So it doesn't really fully surprise me that they're moving on. And I have to wonder too, if he's ready for a new challenge too. If he's like, all right, we've kind of been here, done this. I've run this thing as long as it is. And I don't know that it's going to be any time in the immediate, but I wouldn't be surprised if a year from now we're talking about how he's running the draft and off season for another NBA team.
So you're out on the East Coast. You mentioned just as much as your knowledge too around the Boston Celtics. I'm sure similar to the Knicks and some of these other teams out on the East. Can Can you? I think I think the East is so fascinating right now for the wrong reasons, and what I mean by that is Tatum's injured, and you got Dame that's going to be out, and unfortunately Halliburton goes out in Game 7. I mean, we know all the reasons why. What makes it interesting is it feels like it's obviously wide open. What do you think is? It's funny. We're looking at the West, and you and I were just saying, why aren't there more teams selling? What's the East? What do you think teams like, I'll just use as an example, the Pistons or the Atlanta Hawks, and I know some of these teams, the Orlando Magic, have already made moves, but what is the scope of the Eastern Conference right now? How do you feel like a lot of these teams out there are saying, wait a minute, if there's ever a window, and we just watched the playoff run where the Indiana Pacers could have been one injury away from winning an NBA championship, but what do you kind of make of how the Eastern Conference will view this summer and a lot of these teams and their thought of what their chances are?
I think the teams that are in it are basically saying, why not us? Why can't it be us? I think that feeling was there when the Pacers made the finals. Why can't that be us? And I think it's there even more with Halliburton injured and Tatum injured and Lillard injured. Those teams have come back to the pack now, or are going to be below large chunks of the pack. I think Cleveland and New York, there were rumors after they got eliminated of, do they need to shake it up? Do they move one or two of these core guys in a move that really changes things up? And now those two teams, I think, are sitting there saying, no, why? Like, we're in great shape. Like, we have really good rosters. We're right there. I think both of them can kind of look at it and say, if we didn't have a couple injuries of our own, we may have been in the NBA Finals. I think the Pacers are probably even saying, it stinks Halliburton's out. We have a good, deep team. We made a run without him last year that wasn't that bad. Why can't we, be a good team? Yeah, and then you mentioned like Orlando and in Atlanta are making moves where it is, hey, we're trying to launch ourselves into this thing. And the Magic they pushed the Celtics this year. It was a short series, but they're in most of those games. They pushed Cleveland to the brink last year, and their biggest thing was they didn't have anybody who could shoot or score. And now you got Desmond Bane. You solved a major issue with one trade, and you didn't really downgrade your team in any other ways to do so. So they're in really good shape. And Atlanta picking up Porzingis. They had Jalen Johnson's injury. They got overlooked a little bit because people are like, it's the Hawks. They're kind of middle of the pack. Who really cares? But Jalen Johnson is really, really, really good. And I think people have to kind of, refocus a little bit. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting, it's funny. It's just as competitive as the Western Conference. It's just like a notch below with level of team, is where I would put it as things stand right now. Teams will emerge and they'll become teams we feel better about as it goes. But that's kind of where we're at right now in the East.
Final one I got for you, brother, and I appreciate the time. Thank you for doing this, and really happy to have you on the show. I'm watching from afar, but it's good to get a chance to actually have a conversation. What do you think when the dust settles? Probably the team that I would imagine, if they didn't make a coaching change, would be the favorite in the Eastern Conference, the Knicks. They made a coaching change, and they – I was okay. Listen, if they didn't feel like Thibodeau can get them over the top and they can win an NBA championship, that's okay. They're just you're going to have the pressure of it's the furthest your squad has got in 25 years, and you clearly had success. They went after 4 or 5 coaches that are currently coaches, and they're 0 for 5. What happens when the dust settles with the New York Knicks? Because right now they clearly look like a team that made a decision on something without really knowing what the plan was going to be.
Yeah, we all had our fun at the Knicks' expense with
it was fun. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I want to tell you, I really had a good time.
As a kid who grew up in the Boston area, I had some fun with it too. And it's, but it really is, when you really look at it, it's like they didn't lose anything. You don't have to pay to ask to interview a coach. Sure. And if one of those teams had said, yeah, sure, go ahead, who knows? Maybe we're like, man, it worked. Like, they got a really great coach. So there's nothing gained, nothing lost there. So I have no issue at all with, them doing that, other than it's just kind of funny the extent it went to. Now, we're doing things a little more normally, right? They interviewed Taylor Jenkins and Mike Brown. Those are the experienced former head coaches. They went with James Borrego, has some head coaching experience, very highly thought of assistant. Mike Inori has been one of those guys that often assistant coaches, you hear their name in job interviews for like 3-4 years in a row, then they finally get the chance. He's kind of at that point. I think they're going to end up with a pretty good coach if they hire out of that group of 4, barring something out there. There's still weird Jason Kidd stuff that won't go away, even though Nico Harrison at the draft was like, Jason Kidd's our coach. That's it. But yeah, I think they'll end up with someone good who can help move the team forward. It's just at this point, it's a little odd because they were right there. They were in the East Finals. There's a sense of why can't it be the Knicks that are the best team? But they've got to nail the coaching hire, because we all know that's a really tough market, right? It was a tough market with Tibbs. If you don't at least do what Tibbs did with this team, it's going to be seen. Why do we even fire him then? Why did we go with this guy? And that's where it comes in a little bit tough. That's why I kind of lean towards might be a little bit more of an experienced guy there that they go with. I'm a little surprised we haven't heard more about Michael Malone. But
I agree.
He's very close with Tibbs, so I don't know if he wants to do that. There's also, he may be like, let me kind of take a year off. Let me do some TV. Let me see what things look like. Then I can really pick my spot. We've also seen coaches. It used to always be no coach would take over a team midstream. And now we have seen that happen sometimes with coaches. So maybe he's going to sit and let me wait it out. I see someone in your chat said Jay Wright. Jay Wright told him no already. He was like, I don't even think they asked. And he was like, no, I'm not interested. Let's take it out of the mix. So yeah, they're going to get somebody pretty good.
Well, here's what people think about you in the chat: a walking encyclopedia of NBA knowledge.
Yeah, Keith, but I had to go to the store 3 times the other day because I kept forgetting stuff that was on the grocery list. So it's all NBA up here.
Listen, there's certain areas some guys are better at offense, other guys are better at defense. That's okay. You don't have to have everything. Well, listen, brother, I appreciate the time. Let's do this again soon. But thank you for the insight. Thank you for joining the show.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, that is Keith Smith right there. That dude's solid. That dude's great. I spent a lot of time, and maybe you guys know him very, very well. Maybe you guys don't know his work, but he's been doing that front office show with Trevor Lane, killing it. They just do a phenomenal job. But I got Trev on all the time. Yesterday, I'm texting Trev. I'm like, Trev, got to put me in touch with Keith, man. I want to try to get this guy on the show. So it's great to have him on here. Okay. So we still got a few things I want to do, and I highlighted some of your guys' comments. So I know there's a few things from your perspective as well that you guys want me on as well. Before I do so, I have started talking about it and started giving you guys a little bit of an idea. So happy to have on another one of our partners, Lexus Santa Monica. If you're in the market for a new car, LexusSantaMonica.com. LexusSantaMonica.com. Let me do this as well. I'm going to actually put this here in the chat. The general manager / part owner of that dealership, he can help anybody. I don't care what kind of car you're looking for. He's got connections with everybody. His name is Matt Unger. I've known Unger for 10 years probably. Why do we have a relationship here? We have a relationship because my car is from Lexus Santa Monica. It's as genuine as a partnership as you could possibly have. I'll tell you guys why I believe in the brand so much, but I'm going to put this out here for you guys. If you guys wanted to actually get in touch directly with the general manager, there's his email address, MatthewUnger@LACarguy.com. So let me just kind of tell you guys a little bit about my relationship with Lexus. Been driving Lexus for over 15 years. Quality, reliability, luxury. Obviously Lexus has that it's got the stigma, very positive stigma of you want to feel good when you're in a car, go get yourself a Lexus. But I'm very strategic with my cars. To me, it's a little bit more of a long-term investment. I'm not buying a car every couple of years. I got probably about 180,000 miles on my car right now. I usually buy a Lexus with the idea of I'm going to keep this thing for a long time. When I say quality and when I say reliability, I mean it. Why Lexus Santa Monica? I can introduce you to the owner, to the GM. He'll take care of this community, people that are on this channel I know 100% that he's going to take care of. Doesn't matter what current situation you're in. Not happy with your current lease. Maybe you're looking for a new car. You're interested in the used market. They're pre-owned Lexus across the street. That's where I got my car from. I couldn't be more happy to have them as a partner, and I couldn't be more confident in what they could bring to the table for anybody that's interested in a car. They're also promoting the 2025 all-electric Lexus RZ. So the 2025 all-electric Lexus RZ, something to keep in mind there. Go to the website, lexussantamonica.com, or email Matt Unger at lacarguy.com. You can send me an email at any time. I'll make a personal introduction. Trust me, if you're in the market for a car, we can help you. And we could certainly both try to get you what you're looking for. So shout out to Lexus Santa Monica and their partnership here. Shout out to the partnership. Okay, let's keep going here. Got a couple other things I want to get into. Let me get a couple of your comments here, and then we are going to call it. I don't think it's going to be a weekend. I think what we're going to basically call it is we're going to call it a day, but then I think we're going to have some action over the weekend. That's my hope here. Let's see some of let's buy a used Lexus. You won't regret it. You literally will not. They last forever. That's what I do. That's kind of my philosophy with cars. Everybody's got a different one, so everybody can do their own thing. A lot of people giving some love to Keith. I'm glad you guys liked him as a guest. That's great. That's good to know. And that's good to know that, obviously people on here respect his work. All right. Let me jump into a couple other quick things, and then we'll do a weekend preview. If you guys got anything else you guys want to get into, go ahead and feel free to throw it in the chat, but I think we covered a lot. Just real quick on the Masai Ujuri thing. That's really weird to me. And I think it's weird to me of the timing, kind of like what Keith was saying. Masai Ujiri out as president of basketball operations for the Toronto Raptors. Been there for a number of years. I want to see how long he's been there, but he did win that championship, obviously, back in 2019. Now, the Raptors, they've missed the playoffs 3 straight years. Maybe that has something to do with it. He's been the GM since 2013, so he's been there for a while. It's funny. Anytime any Laker fans bring up, hey, Lakers need to fire Rob Pelinka, whatever the case is, I'm just bringing up random things that come up. There's always a couple names that have come up in regards to that. It's always, go get Sam Presti. Also, Masai Ujiri's name has come up a lot. So we'll see what eventually happens with him. I don't know. The first thing I thought of when he got fired, I'm like, hey, maybe there's, or step down or whatever you want to call it, maybe there's an opportunity for him somewhere else. Maybe there was a different team calling. I don't think the Lakers are going to make, any changes in the near future. That's just my personal opinion. We'll see what happens. I think it wouldn't be smart to do it at this stage as well. But you never know. You never know what can happen. I just know that Masai Ujiri, like I mentioned, somebody that has done listen, if you win an NBA championship and you do it in Toronto, you're king forever, and he'll always be known for winning an NBA championship. And however they got there, they got there. The other thing that I mentioned as well, and just one quick other thing before we get into the weekend preview, Ace Bailey, that will he report on Monday when their summer camp starts in Utah? Why do I feel like this is going to be a good spot for him in Utah? I really do. I feel like he's going to get as much playing time as he possibly wants. There isn't going to be that much of expectations. He'll probably be a highlight reel. I don't know. I just hope that he doesn't make too much of a headache about this and just reports on Monday, and the Utah Jazz can kind of start their offseason. But Ace Bailey was making a name for himself these last couple of days, predominantly because of how he was treating the draft and almost trying to handpick where he was going. There was an article out there that Ace Bailey's reps told the team in top 5 not to pick him. Yeah, but what if we want to draft you? Yeah, well, don't pick him. And by the way, this is not the most uncommon thing. Things like this happen. If I was the owner or a general manager of a team and I like the player, I'm drafting him. And if you don't want to come here, well, too bad, we drafted you. So we'll see what happens in regards to that. Toronto picks have been horrible. All right. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Final thing I want to get into in today's show, and then, like I said, if we'll come back if we need to over the weekend if something's going on. Let's preview a little bit of the weekend, what we have going on in regards to just kind of the world of sports, what we got going on. First off, our weekend preview, of course, is presented by the Wallace firm. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa, WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. If you're in a serious situation, you need someone who shows up in the clutch like a seasoned vet, you call Brad Wallace in the Wallace firm. No gimmicks, just wins. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. A couple things going on this weekend, just something to keep in mind. The key dates that we've all kind of talked about, we're getting a little bit closer here to June 30th. Each NBA team may begin negotiating with all other upcoming free agents starting at 3 p.m. Pacific on June 30th. So that's going to actually hit us on Monday, but just expect action. I mean, don't be surprised if there's some more moves over the weekend, some trades over the weekend. Free agency will start, but because there's really limited resources in free agency, players and everything else in cap space, I think if moves are going to be made, it's going to come obviously within trades. Baseball front, just to kind of hit on this real quick, a couple things from a baseball perspective. Again, just real quick, nothing crazy or anything like that. Standings, as far as the standings go, and we've always kind of kept an eye predominantly in NL West just because we're out here in SoCal. Dodgers are basically running away with the division, and it's no surprise or shock. They're 20 games over 500. They got a 6-game lead on the Padres and a 6.5-game lead on the Giants. As far as some of the series that will start this weekend, let me see here. I looked at these a little bit earlier. Padres are starting a 3-game set against, is it Cincinnati? Yeah, they're taking on the Reds. Giants are taking on the White Sox, and the Dodgers are taking on the Royals. The only other team, Marlins and the Diamondbacks. Marlins coming off a sweep of the San Francisco Giants. I don't know how the hell that happened, but they just swept the Giants and actually kind of took them out, I think 12-3 yesterday, something along those lines. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of what's going on from a baseball perspective. Last thing I'm going to mention here, and I do appreciate everybody hanging out, and I'm sure while I'm doing this, there's been other stuff that's been going down, and who knows, while the live show was going on, I didn't look at Twitter at all, so I'm not 100% sure if there was other moves going on or anything like that. I'm going to promote 2 things here real quick. Please subscribe to the channel. Really, really would appreciate if you guys can do that. And if you guys would like to be members, we are in a phenomenal position on this channel. We're growing our memberships as well. It's a great way to support the channel. It's $3 a month, basically a cost of a cup of coffee a month. I greatly appreciate that as well. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of the show. Thank you for a great week, solid week from everybody today. And we'll get back with you guys on Monday unless something happens over the weekend around Lakers basketball. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your Friday, and I'll see you guys on Monday morning.